My fiancée ended our wedding with a text after her ex offered her a trip to Paris. I sent her on a very different kind of journey, and now she's the one begging. I'm 31, my fiancée, Lauren, 29, and I were together for 3 years. Engaged for 8 months. Wedding fully planned, deposits paid, invitations already sent. We live together in a condo I own. I work in commercial real estate development, which means long hours but stable money. Lauren works in marketing for a boutique fashion brand. She cares a lot about aesthetics, status, and how things look from the outside. That's relevant. For most of our relationship, things were fine. Not perfect, but stable. We argued about normal stuff. Money, schedules, her tendency to escalate small disagreements into full character assessments of me. She has a sharp tongue. I used to think it was just passion. Lately, I've been reevaluating that. About 2 months before the wedding, her ex resurfaced. The ex she always described as immature and beneath her. Apparently beneath her enough to DM her again. She told me about it in a weirdly casual way, like she expected me to laugh it off. I didn't love it, but I didn't panic either. I trusted her, or I thought I did. Over the next few weeks, she got increasingly secretive with her phone. Not hiding it exactly, just angling it away. Smiling at notifications. When I asked who she was texting, she'd say friends in a tone that implied I was already being unreasonable. Then last month, while I was in a meeting with investors, I got a text from her. No warning. No conversation beforehand. She was ending the wedding. Not the engagement discussion. The wedding. Over text. And the reason she gave was that she needed space to figure out her feelings after being offered a spontaneous trip to Paris by her ex. That's when I realized I wasn't the one who was about to go on a trip. I stared at that text for a full minute like my phone had glitched. I reread it 3 times because my brain kept trying to turn it into something less insane. She did not say I need to talk. She did not say we should postpone. She said she was ending the wedding because she had feelings to sort out and her ex was offering Paris like it was a little gift card. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. Then she finally sent another text that basically said, "Do not blow up my phone. I am overwhelmed. You are proving why I need space." That was Lauren in a nutshell. Set the house on fire, then complained the smoke is stressing her out. I drove home early. Not to beg. Not to argue. I just needed to see what the situation actually was. She was on the couch with her laptop open, scrolling flights, acting like I was the interruption. She did not even stand up. She looked at me like I was a co-worker who walked into the wrong meeting. Then she started in immediately. How she had been carrying the relationship. How she did not feel chosen. How I was practical and boring. How Paris would help her clear her head. She said it in this smug, airy way, like she was auditioning for a movie where the heroine leaves the safe guy behind. I asked one question. Are you going to Paris with him? She rolled her eyes and said, "You always make everything so dramatic." She said it could be just a trip, that it did not mean anything, that I was insecure. Then she added that if I was a better partner, she would not even be tempted. That was the moment something clicked for me. Not heartbreak. Clarity. If someone can cancel a wedding by text because an ex waves a plane ticket, then I was not marrying my partner. I was marrying a liability with good lighting. So I told her calmly that she was free to go. But we were done, and she was not coming back to my place like nothing happened. She laughed. Actually laughed. She said, "You cannot kick me out just because I am taking a trip." That was when I realized she thought I was bluffing. Lauren genuinely believed I was reacting emotionally and would calm down by morning. That is how our dynamic had worked before. She would push, escalate, say something cutting, and I would try to stabilize things. She expected that pattern. I did not yell. I did not argue. I asked a very basic question instead. "Are you still planning to go on this trip?" She said yes, probably next week. She said it like she was confirming a hair appointment. So I told her clearly that if she chose to go on a romantic trip funded by her ex 2 months before our wedding, then we were no longer engaged, and she needed to arrange other living accommodations immediately. I reminded her that the condo is solely in my name. She is not on the deed. She contributes to utilities and groceries, but the mortgage and HOA are mine. She smirked and said I was being transactional, that I always turn everything into contracts and logistics. She said love is not a lease agreement. I agreed. But housing is. She tried to pivot into a bigger emotional speech about how suffocated she felt and how maybe Paris would remind her who she is outside of me. I did not engage with the speech. I asked again, very directly, "Are you going?" She said yes. She said she deserved to feel wanted. She emphasized wanted, like I had been withholding oxygen. That was enough information for me. I told her she had 24 hours to move out. Not out of anger, just logistics. She has a sister 10 minutes away and parents an hour outside the city. She also has friends who have been loudly supportive of her finding herself. There were options. I said I would give her the day and night to pack essentials and arrange the rest. Her expression changed then. Not regret. Not sadness. Annoyance. She said you would really throw away 3 years over one trip. I said no. I am reacting to you throwing away a marriage for one. She accused me of being cold. Maybe I was. But I was not going to compete with a plane ticket. And I was not going to finance the exit of my own wedding. The next 24 hours were not dramatic. They were tense and efficient. Lauren did not cry. She did not apologize. She alternated between icy silence and small verbal jabs about how I was overreacting and proving her point about me being emotionally unavailable. I did not debate her. I worked from my home office, took my calls, and made actual logistical moves. First, I contacted the venue and vendors. Catering, photographer, florist, band. I asked what was refundable and what was not. I did not frame it as maybe. I said the wedding was canceled. I would rather lose deposits than pretend this was temporary. Second, I called my attorney. Not to escalate. Just to confirm I was within my rights regarding the condo. She was not on the title. There was no cohabitation agreement. No shared accounts. My lawyer confirmed that giving her notice to leave was reasonable and that I should document communication in writing. So I followed up with a short email summarizing what I had said verbally. That the engagement was terminated. That she needed to vacate within 24 hours. That I would coordinate pickup of remaining items within 2 weeks if needed. Calm, factual, no insults. When she saw the email come through, she snapped. She said I was humiliating her. That I was acting like she had cheated when she had not technically done anything. She emphasized technically like it was a shield. I told her I was not accusing her of anything physical. I was responding to behavior. Canceling a wedding by text and booking a trip to Paris with an ex was a decision. I was simply responding to it. She shifted into superiority mode. She said I was small for making housing conditional. She said a confident man would not feel threatened by a flight and a hotel. She framed it like I was failing some maturity test. I did not ask whether the ticket was booked. I did not need confirmation. The wedding had already been canceled. The message had already been sent. The intent was clear enough. At that point, my mind was settled. This was not about Paris anymore. It was about the fact that she believed she could end our wedding, test drive another option, and keep her living situation secure in case she changed her mind. I was not going to be the backup plan with a mortgage. By that evening, she had packed 2 large suitcases and several tote bags. She moved through the condo like she was staying in a hotel she had outgrown. Detached, mildly inconvenienced. She made a point of taking her time in the bedroom. I stayed in the living room and let her do it. I was not going to supervise packing like a security guard. I trusted that whatever she took was hers. I was not interested in splitting furniture or arguing over dishes. Most of what mattered to me was already mentally written off. Around midnight, she stood by the door with her luggage and looked at me like she expected a last-minute reversal. A dramatic speech. Some grand gesture. I did not offer one. She said, "This is crazy. You know that, right? All of this over one opportunity." I told her it was not one opportunity. It was a choice she already made. I was just respecting it. She shook her head and said I would regret this. That men like me do not get many women like her. That when she posted from Paris, I would understand what I lost. It was a strange sales pitch for someone walking out. I opened the door for her. That was the end of the in-person part. The next morning, I changed the keypad code to the condo and forwarded her mail to her sister's address. I also removed her access from the shared streaming accounts and our joint Costco membership. Small things, but clean lines matter. I expected anger. I expected a barrage of texts. Instead, I got silence for about 48 hours. Then her Instagram story popped up. Airport lounge. Champagne glass. Caption about choosing yourself. That was when the situation shifted from personal to strategic in my head. Because if she wanted a trip, I was about to send her on a different kind of journey entirely. I did not react to her story. I did not reply. I did not send anything passive-aggressive. I simply watched long enough to confirm what I already knew. Airport lounge. Champagne glass. Caption about choosing yourself. That was the last update I saw from her. Because right after that, I blocked her. Phone number first. Then Instagram. Then Facebook. I removed her from LinkedIn too, since she liked to curate there as well. I was not interested in front row seats to her experiment. and I was not going to give her access to me while she tested whether Paris felt better than stability. Blocking was not emotional. It was procedural. If she had chosen to end the wedding by text, she did not get ongoing access to me while abroad. Then I started tying off every remaining loose end. I contacted the venue and asked for written confirmation that our date had been officially released. I did the same with catering and photography. Anything refundable was sent back to my account since I had paid every deposit. I documented everything in a spreadsheet. Losses included. Clean ledger. I also sent a short email to our guest list. The wedding will not be taking place. Thank you for your understanding. No explanation. No drama. I was not going to participate in speculation or defend myself in group chats. Then I called the jeweler and initiated the return process for the engagement ring. It was within policy. That refund alone covered most of what we lost on deposits. I canceled our honeymoon flights to Greece as well. Those were in my name. I did not announce any of it. There was no performance. But by the time she was halfway across the Atlantic, the infrastructure of our engagement was already dismantled, and she had no way to reach me directly to test whether I was bluffing. That silence was intentional. She landed back in the country 5 days later. I did not know the exact time because I had blocked her everywhere, but I found out indirectly. My sister called me that evening and asked what was going on. Apparently, Lauren had started messaging mutual friends saying she could not reach me and that I was overreacting. That told me two things. First, she assumed I would be waiting. Second, she did not expect consequences to extend past the airport. About an hour after that call, there was a knock on my door. Not frantic, not desperate, controlled. I checked the camera feed on my phone before opening it. She was standing there with a single suitcase and her carry-on. No ex in sight. No Paris glow. Just irritation. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. She immediately launched into it. She said blocking her was childish. That normal adults talk things through. That she had gone to clear her head, and I had escalated everything unnecessarily. I let her finish. Then I told her there was nothing to talk through. The wedding had been canceled. The ring had been returned. The honeymoon was refunded. Our vendors were notified. Our guests were informed. Her face shifted at that. She asked what I meant about the ring. I explained calmly that since we were no longer engaged, I returned it within the policy window. The funds were already processed. That was the first crack in her composure. She said I was supposed to wait, that she thought we would talk when she got back, that she just needed space to compare feelings and see what was real. Compare. That word did more than Paris ever could. I told her I am not an option on a menu. If she needed to compare, then the choice was already made. She said she had not slept with him, that it was just dinners and walking around and talking. I told her it did not matter, because the relationship ended the moment she sent that text, and I was not reopening negotiations. She did not leave immediately. Instead, she shifted into negotiation mode. She said I was being rigid, that real relationships survive doubts, that it was unrealistic to expect someone to never question their choices before marriage. She framed her trip like it was research, like she had done due diligence and now had clarity. I asked her one thing. If Paris had felt better, would you be here right now? She did not answer directly. She said that was not fair, that emotions are complex, that I was oversimplifying. That was answer enough. Then she tried a different angle. She said the ex was not what she remembered, that he was still immature, that he talked about himself constantly, that she realized I was stable and reliable. She actually used the word reliable like it was a consolation prize. I told her reliable is not an insult, but it is also not something you test drive against a backup. She stepped closer and lowered her voice. She said she was willing to forget the blocking, the cancellations, all of it, if we could just reset. She said no one even needed to know the wedding had been called off permanently. We could reschedule quietly. That is when I understood the real panic. It was not about love. It was about optics. Invitations had already gone out. Friends had already seen the Paris posts. She did not want to be the woman who left her fiancé for an ex and came back single. She wanted to revise the storyline. I told her there was nothing to reset. I had already informed our guests. There was no secret version of this where we pretend it was a scheduling issue. Then I opened the door behind me, stepped inside, and told her this conversation was over. I said she needed to leave the property immediately and not come back without arranging a time through email for collecting anything she had left behind. She stared at me like I had just slapped her. She said I could not be serious. I told her I was completely serious. Then I closed the door. I locked it, and I did not reopen it when she knocked again. She knocked for about 2 minutes. Not hysterically, not screaming, Just firm, controlled knocks like she still believed this was temporary. Then the knocking stopped. My phone started vibrating almost immediately after. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then another unknown number. Then a text from her sister asking if I could please be reasonable. I did not respond that night. The next morning, I sent one email. Subject line, retrieval of personal property. I gave her 2 available time slots over the next week when I would be present, so she could collect whatever remained. I made it clear that after that window, anything left would be boxed and placed in storage at her expense. No insults. No commentary. Just procedure. She replied within 15 minutes. The tone was different now. Less sharp. More urgent. She said I was being extreme and that we needed closure. She said she felt blindsided by how final I was being. That word almost made me laugh. Blindsided. She ended our wedding by text so she could go to Paris with her ex. I responded within 24 hours. There was nothing sudden about that. She showed up during the first time slot. This time there was no speech. No philosophy about passion. She walked in quietly, looked around the condo like it already belonged to someone else, and packed the remaining clothes and cosmetics from the bathroom. At one point she paused in the kitchen and said she did not think I would actually let her go. That was probably the most honest thing she said. I told her I am not here to hold someone who wants to test alternatives. She nodded, but it was not agreement. It was disbelief. When she finished, she stood near the door and asked if this was really it. I said yes. She waited a second longer, like there might be a twist ending. There was not. She left with the last of her things. And for the first time in weeks, the condo felt quiet in a way that was not tense. I thought that would be the end of it. For about 3 weeks, it was. No messages. No surprise visits. Mutual friends stopped bringing her up once they realized I was not interested in postmortems. Work filled the space quickly. Deals do not pause because your engagement implodes. Then she emailed me. Not to argue. Not to accuse. To ask if we could meet for coffee. She wrote that she had been thinking a lot. That Paris was not what she expected. That she realized she confused excitement with compatibility. She said she saw now that stability is rare and that she had taken it for granted. I read it once and closed it. 2 days later, another email. This one was less polished. She said she made a mistake. That the ex had already moved on emotionally even while they were there. That she felt stupid. She said she missed our routines. The grocery runs. The Sunday mornings. The predictability. She said she would do anything to fix it. I did not respond. No clarification. No debate. No closure meeting. Silence was the answer. A week after that, she sent one final message. Shorter. Less confident. She said she hoped I would reconsider. That people make mistakes before big commitments. That throwing everything away over one lapse seemed extreme. I did not respond to that either. Because from my perspective, nothing was thrown away impulsively. She made a decision when she canceled our wedding by text and boarded a flight with someone she once loved. I made mine when I refused to audition for the role of safest option. There is no anger left in me about it. Just a very simple boundary. If someone needs to compare you to see your value, let them finish the comparison without you. She wanted Paris. I wanted certainty. And I chose not to compete.